Just to note on the form that we thought we take in this session is that both Prasad and Maheep will first just make 10-minute provocations, and then we've asked them to make a second round of a 5-minute provocation responding to what each other has said. That it very much is a beginning to mimic a mode of conversation that does not happen, where professional practice planners and those who write about planning begin to speak and interrogate and question each other. After which we'll open it up.
So I used to work with the Metropolitan Authority of Mumbai, and one of the things that the Metropolitan Authority did was to develop the second business district for Mumbai. No, it's called the Bandar Complex. Right inside the city. It was kind of reclaimed from the marshes, and then plots were made, and then each of the plots were then leased out on long leases to various banks and financial companies and stuff like that. The Metropolitan Authority office was also there, in the same scheme, and the scheme is fairly large. I mean, it's almost 2 corporators constituency. I mean, Bombay there are 190 corporators, 2 corporate constituencies within in that area. This is mid-80s, early 90s, and the typical town planning scheme in its form, not really town planning scheme, because land was all acquired before, and it was acquired with government and handed over to the Metropolitan Authority. So the grid was laid, and typically every plan is somehow a grid always nowadays, since last 100 years. So the grid was laid, and guidelines were made as to what could come inside the grid in terms of use, and largely it was commercial use, so to say offices, and how much distance is to be kept from the boundary wall, what is the width of the street, and everything was defined. So this is typically the way the micro plan is made. And the street in which my office was, is currently, I used to be there. So the street on which the Metropolitan Authority office is also, it has the sales tax, and then there is a income tax office, and there is then there are a series of banks and very small. There is a family court in front of it. Then there are other multi-user office buildings. So there's a lot of floating population that comes on a daily basis into this sector, this place. And somehow the planners at that time, they forgot to, think that these people also need food. So, so there was no place to eat in that entire place. And as the demand kind of rose, the street in front of the planning office was, several food vendors. They cook food, tea, and various kinds of food with all kinds of things. And obviously, food hawkers and food vendors are a nightmare for planners. They're basically, there is the whole dimension of hygiene, safety. They have gas, and they have water which is got from somewhere, and so planners cannot accept food on the street. It's not possible to think of that. But and then planners kind of opposed. We had at that time, I think we had some RLPT planners, they all opposed it. How can you allow, in such a planned, newly planned area, this kind of informal hawking? So the road authority kind of, started some action that kind of move, but then so many people opposed, all the buildings, roads, all the, that there is no other place to eat, and there are so many people, our canteens are kind of not, because these are small canteens for the building, so they are not able to handle it. You need to kind of, have this street food which is cheap, it's fast, which is kind of, handles itself completely, closes the loop. So then the Metropolitan Authority said, okay, no, it's a kind of a, thing that you don't know how to handle, and you can't leave it unchecked, unregulated. So what the lands department did from our office was, it made a register of all the vendors. There were some 26, 27 vendors, and they gave each of these vendors one number. We are in E block, so the numbers were E1, E2, E3, E4, E5, etc. 220 to 27. The idea was that there would be these many and only these many and nobody else. You can't come there, you don't have a number. And they were all told that don't allow anybody else to come. You are there, be there now enough. And the moment that happened, there was no property change, there was nothing, no rent. Of course, rent couldn't be, because the moment the rent is charged, then it becomes a formal property, and then, you can't have formal property on the sidewalk, So, it was just a number given, but this number became such an interesting, currency. The number started getting traded. So, based on the number, then you had people selling the number, then people inheriting it, and then people subdividing the number. So within one shop there are two shops. It became property. No ownership, nothing. Nobody pays rent. But one owner takes rent from the next lessee. Then the renter pays rent to that other person. Subdivision happens. This is a manner in which cities work themselves out through series of designs and then series of accidents, and designs and accidents kind of, they come together. And I've been teaching for the last 10 years, so we can kind of always kind of, I used to teach architecture in school, so the whole, orientation that one has to how do you organize, how do you kind of make organized space and make organized intervention for informality, how do you do that? And then every year at least one batch in the school kind of goes to some place like this, makes proposals as to what is the best design to happen, or what is the best design for the vendors, how can they fold, and all of those things. But never these kind of designs are, they never are implemented, obviously. Why? Because the way the slum and the informal settlement kind of gets produced. I mean, we recently did an encroachment, which is basically became a library, and then there we learned a lot of things because you had to build your building between the second Friday and the third Monday. 3 days you have to kind of make that. So that's the time when the municipality has holiday, so nobody will come to demolition. And then when we were doing that, we found that some demolition somewhere becomes a material bank for some other slum. the number of negotiations and bargains and things that happen are completely spontaneous. They have a logic of their own. Now the logic in which informal space and form gets produced in the city is usually not the logic of the plan and design. Because the logic of modern plan, I'm referring to modern plan and modern design, is a very different logic in which the plan and design gets made, it's kind of tendered and it's kind of fixed. So the process is in a very different logic. You need a plan to then get into it. Here, everything with the entire space and form gets produced by chance, accident, some opportunity somewhere, some negotiation, something else. So these two logics are in contradiction. And therefore, you feel, then you kind of go back and think, what does planners and architects do to engage with this urban form, this space? So I'll pose that question to you as a planner. What does a planner do when these two logics are in contradiction to each other?
Thank you, Prasad. Morning, my name is Maheep Singh Thapar. I am an urban and regional planner by education and qualification. And I run a consulting company in the field of urban and regional planning for the last 17 years. So it's a kind of a company, consulting company. We interact with government agencies, profession, to interact and give advice or make plans and interact with these agencies which are supposed to plan for the cities and the people. It's about 17 years since we've been doing this. With that introduction, I'd like to just go ahead and continue where you have just talked, is what do the planners do, or if they do anything or are trying to do anything. I'd like to start by saying that we have been trained to actually keep this informality in mind. Our theory of planning is excellent. We had students a couple of decades ago, and it is still ingrained in our minds. So what's happened is that when I hear this, again and again I realize that how far we have moved away from that original theories of planning. The next thing I'd like to say is that many planners initially, when there were no planning degrees or something, were either biologists or geographers or sociologists, because they were thinking about society actually, and they were looking at a settlement as a form. I think you know this. Most of us know this. Some people are not from this field. I'd like to just bring that dimension into it, that how it evolved. So like the people in the city are evolving at every moment. The professions and the systems have evolved, and there have been responses from them within the system, which is a society. So the form of governance in itself has evolved by looking at society and how we should run and manage. And then when some people are in the position of power, or either they take the mandate or the mandate is given to them that you plan for the city, that's when the situation starts changing. Because we have created a way to run the society that the common people who are not part of the governance directly are busy in living their lives, and somebody else is supposed to plan for them. And that is the government, hoping that they will take care of so many functions and requirements. So we can be doing our things, our day-to-day routine, and somebody else will help us sort out the community problems. So with that, I would like to say that informality is, it's like very difficult to define. I feel that. I would say just a form of naturalness, the way we are trying to talk today. So informality should be a common factor in most of our interactions with each other. And because we have defined a system in which there is a government, and then there are a set of people, and there are defined boundaries and specific ways of interaction and communication between the two sets of people, probably somewhere that informality has gone. thought that you need to structure things. That if planning is a science, that's what he was saying. That how finally ended by saying that you need to organize things to solve problems or ensure things continue and sustenance happens. So then we came to know about the systems theory of planning, that there is a general systems theory, that everything is a system and we are part of the system, and then there are subsystems and subsystems and subsystems. So to try to analyze how societies are working and moving and growing, it was felt that you need to study these factors and identify the interlinkages between these subsystems. Then only you can come up with a plan. So, to define planning as a scientific subject, that it's a science, there is a method, there is a way to do it. Probably it got structured and maybe it got fossilized, but that fossils still exist. The society has moved tremendously. So those systems which were intended for a particular reason are not able to now respond to the changing needs of the society. Then we were told that the city, you should keep looking at it despite there is a system and there is a unit, there is a defined municipal boundary, there is a set of people, the population is growing at a particular rate of growth, and there are different types of economic sections in the society and they have different needs. Come up with a plan and try to do this, try to do that. And there was another theory which was always being told to us that cities are organic, it's about people, and you really define all these things. Then there were legal systems, that it's an act by a body which is elected by the people. It is a form of the governance which will run the societies in general, irrespective of the urban planning, the planning for the society in general, that they would create instruments or policies which will drive those instruments or will be intended to create an instrument and plans actually implement them. They were the legal systems that started defining further what is possible, what is not possible, what is in the mandate, what is not in the mandate. But we always knew that planning is not the only science. Although, like field of medicine, we have different subjects, that there is a digestive system, there is a neural system, So then planning was divided that you cannot have a generalized approach. You have an MBBS, MD in general medicine, but you also do, if you want, you can do, you can be super specialist in neurosurgery. So somebody became a master's in transport planning and they became experts only in the transport sector, primarily in the transport sector. So like these fields got specialized, even planning got, education got specified. And this definitely creates a mindset. You always knew that even social science exists. That is also a science. It's called University of something or Department of Social Sciences. And then about 20-30 years ago or 25 years ago when I was a student, we knew that environmental sciences were also very important. So we had a master's in environmental planning created about 25-30 years ago. Then parallelly when the amendments to the constitution happened at the center, the 73rd and 74th, a lot of talk in Delhi, because I was studying there, about decentralization. Things are not working when you really have things centralized and you're not able to reach up to the ground and planning is top heavy and top bottom or top down. Then we identified there is another set of units or systems called communities, associations, guilds, groups. But when we look at the associations of whether it was real estate association or merchants association, chambers of commerce, we went back to the history of human settlements and realized that guilds have always played an important role in urban planning, city growth, human settlements. So we found a connect, but realized that we had a disconnect in between. So keeping that fact that society was changing constantly, we were not able to change ourselves, whether we were aligned with the government or with the private sector or with the civil society. That created the gap and the conflict. So the two broad kinds of conflicts happened, one at the individual and personal level, that you are having a Dvandva Yuddha within yourself. You don't know what's happening. And then you align with the organization, whether it's because of a profession or something, you realize that there is a societal issue between the different units and associations. So I remember that somewhere Alvin Toffler said that the change will happen faster than we will be able to respond to that. And I find it true every day. that by the time we try to work on something with the government and go back to the people, the perception and the people's response have already changed, and the ground reality has already changed. So the time taken to, I'm talking about general planning now, not a master plan or anything, which is much more defined as an instrument. Tackling all these informalities, supposedly to tackle all these informalities. So, for the audience, if there is any specific question, once we do the next round, because I know I have said some things which may sound very confusing. I'm not really totally clear on some of them myself. I would say that the rate of change is much more fast and severe, and the backlash is also severe now. One important thing we missed out was public health was a primary concern. You're right. Health and sanitation was the concern that if 1 million people live in the city, what happens to the waste they generate? It will create a hazard for the people who are living in the city with themselves. They are creating hazards for themselves. Why urbanization is happening so much? What's wrong with the regions around the cities? Is it a result of something or it's a natural process? So we find that it's a virtue that we are urbanized and it's good. Around 2-3 decades ago, there was a lot of discussion about spatio-economic planning, that physical plan, the geographical and spatial content of the constituent of what is happening, where is happening, and the economic plan, there's a big gap between that. And the legitimacy and the process of planning, I think we should have in the next round. I feel that the discussions like this will help, because discussions have slowly reduced and disappearing within the system. So they are organized, specific themed workshops, and very little scope for innovation, but innovation comes up and then it doesn't get translated. Part of it gets into the policy, part of it is again filtered and gets implemented. And then things don't happen on the ground, and that creates a lot of concern. I would say that if informality is linked with insensitivity, that if we become less sensitive, we will become less informal. Thank you. Next one.
I mean, for the purpose of this discussion, I think it would be useful to kind of state or define or make a clarify. Because like planning also has this width and multiplicity in its idea, you know. I mean, if the city is so big, then planning is so much, and physical urban planning is very small, you know. So, and I mean, I think in what we know of as modern India, planning is a fairly late phenomenon, and happens with improvement trusts on planning schemes that the British kind of, you know, put in place to do two things. One is provide centralized infrastructure to people, water supply, sewage, roads, etc. And two, to provide a standard those buildings. So you have a lot of, even in this city, I think the city improvement trust, like many other cities, one of the key things was to make houses, you know, have clear land, lay the land, make plots, and provide housing. And by the 60s and 70s, planning has become far more what he says, you know, specific. The idea of master plan, development plan, city development plan, where planning was, I mean, I'm not talking of partial planning, urban planning, I'm talking about planning was the act of making a plan. And what is a plan? A plan is a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper on which you have the city drawn, some colors, and each color defining what can be built on it, what cannot be built on it, accompanied by a book which states how to build what. Okay. So this is what master plan and subsequent to last 60 years what we call planning acts. And I mean, cities are there. Cities kind of came up much before, and the way the cities came up in India was through intensification of claims primarily. People trying to do many more things on the same piece of land. So you have so in most cities, even in this city, you have. I mean, if you look at the old city, you have streets which do not go straight. There is no grid. You don't see that, right? Nor do you see very clear, buildings of one size and shape and form. You don't see that. How does this come about? It came about by subdividing land, which was largely agrarian at one time. And the agrarian land was subdivided in its own logic. In agrarian land, the size and shape did not matter, right? Agrarian land was about fertility. So if one small piece of land produces 1 quintal of rice, it is equal to the large piece of land. So the size and shape doesn't matter, right? So the subdivided land is owned by somebody. This land, agricultural land, is owned by somebody. When another use comes in, industry or something else or government, then this land gets used for some other purpose. The agricultural land gets used to make a factory or something like that. And that use requires, I mean, so the modern use, so to say, in that use, the size and the shape of the land starts, becoming important. And therefore the grid is basically, it defines certain size and certain shape. Now, the plan seeks to, most plans seek to have that grid because it is the best way to lay the infrastructure, it is the best way to kind of, set, build buildings, define various things. But most cities in India, they came up through intensification of claims. The change of land uses happened before the plan comes into existence. If that is informality, then most cities are actually informal. Always. Informality is the city. The city is informal. It grows informal. I mean, and I'm kind of making it clear. Plan is a outsider waiting at the door, knocking at the door constantly, trying to come in, and the city is at some places wherever it wants it accepts, and wherever it doesn't want, keeps it up. That's the relationship between the city and the plan. And it is not as if the plan is the outsider. The city produces the plan. The plan doesn't produce the city. It is the city from where the plan is made. The city makes the plan. Plan is also an aspiration of what the maker of the plan wants the city to be. Now, when I say maker of the plan, there are many makers of the plan. There are many kinds of makers of the plan. So, and all of us have some aspirations, and all of those aspirations cannot be in that plan, obviously. So everybody makes their own plans. In some way, it is not statutory and it is not legal and it is not kind of, it doesn't come in a paper and with a book and stuff. But everybody has a different idea of plan. So, I mean, this idea that you force plan against informality doesn't make sense actually. Because the city is, if that is informal, the subdivision, it's kind of logic, which is kind of, wait and watch. If the logic of the city is through slow settlement, if the logic is about, speculations, if the logic is about, and all of this is the logic of the city. So if all of this is the logic of the city, then the city is informal. It has always been, it has grown informally, if that is informal. So plan is one of the informalities that sits on the city, isn't it? I mean, it's also produced from that informality, and it is trying to informally kind of work itself out in the city. So one way of looking at this planned informal would be to kind of, plan is produced by this informal. This is kind of make it very planned. It's not outside.
I think what happened is that as things got defined and structured and hardened, a lot of these existing patterns of growth were missed out, capturing of that. So, one of the tasks as part of the methodology of city planning is to understand the existing pattern of the city before we come up with any new proposals. So, the whole idea of segregated land use, has worked at serious contradiction with our existing. Not only was it not applicable to the current state of affairs, but historically Indian cities have been organic and mixed for a long, long time. So the concepts, I don't want to say from where they came, of applying a particular specific land use to a purpose and location was an effort to change the way Indians would live, or maybe people would live in cities. And probably took a few decades for that to hit back the reality that these things are not working. But the acts and the provisions gave an opportunity for such things to continue. That you would continue to plan in a similar manner because nobody realized and nobody questioned it. It's only when the awareness has come in, and part of it also because of urbanization, because more people are living in the cities and there are now more problems created. So there is a kind of energy which is coming back in different forms, saying that this cannot be the way we would want things to be planned. Otherwise, what is being planned? I'm saying generally planned, not the master plan. I have a comment on that. It's not showing the desired results. So, for example, whether you go to Bangalore or Hyderabad or Gurgaon, you will still find that the economic growth has been captured by creating the centers of work. So you can say that we are successful, that cities generate employment and employment generates, helps grow the economy. But finally what resulted was that the livable index was not desirable or acceptable. What life are we living in? So the point you made about Bandra complex or anywhere in India, apart from the fact that that complex may have been, located on a very environmentally sensitive area, that, is highly questionable and debatable. Even if it was not, the whole idea is that if you don't understand the implication of the economic steps which manifest in a physical form in the form of a building or land development or subdivision or change in that land type or subdivision, is that it creates different types of people having different types of relationships. And actually, if you go back to that, you don't plan for it in a physical way. It will spill out on the street, or it will be right in front of the face, our eyes. And we are not willing to admit that we missed it out. But it exists. And of course, then the legality and legitimacy comes that if you are on the street, it's illegal. And if you, in BKC, Bangalore complex or Gurgaon or IT City, if we had created a space, we're coming back to space and I'll end up with the master plan comment. Is that, would it have meant just reserving an acre of land only for such people? It's not I would say, just a mistake. It's something which we are just too numb to, while we were doing the planning, to realize, to understand. And what has spilled out is that the change in the land form or land size, especially in the urban context, because it all emanates from the fact that the value of land has been going up and up and up, and that creates this tension. So if the rules don't allow, rules framed by a set of people, thinking that it will be good for the city and the people, but the people want it to happen and they do it on their own, then it becomes illegitimate or unauthorized, things like that. So this is a contradiction, it's a serious contradiction, which probably a few decades ago would not have been so acceptable, but since people who are of my age and generation are at least more open to discuss about it. But the idea will be how to change a system, because it has to go back to a system of planning. And then again it has to be translated through a process. And the two things I would like to say is, one is in 60s and 70s in the 5-year planning. See, everything is linked to the kind of centralized planning we have been having at the macro economic level. Right? These are the driving forces. There was a scheme called integrated development of small and medium towns. So if in India, we could have thought of this policy at the planning commission level, and funding was already happening for decades, but it did not have a desired result. This was a major regional thing which had come from the centralized top-down planning system. Finally, on the master plan, that since the Act provided a mandate to only one document, which was supposed to actually take care of all these things, including informality. Otherwise, you'll have to go sector by sector to improve the water supply, the sewage, the employment, and things like that. That this was the document to actually integrate and come up with a plan where you could tackle and address these issues. I would say there are serious questions on now whether what have we done? Have we really achieved those results? Because the economy has grown, but the desired impact or the way we would have liked that energy of our growing economy to be translated into a way of life for urban living. Definitely all cities are facing the same problems, all of them.
I just want to make one quick comment at this point and then open it up for everyone. If you can all recall what Jairaj said in the morning session, that what we are thinking of as the state is actually a network of communities of interests. The state outside of us in the town which we are thinking. I think that is one entry point into this whole question about informality, what is it, where does it come from, how do we deal with it, and so on and so forth. Part of the reason why we set up this conversation actually with two people who are deeply embedded in professional practice in very different locations is this. State as an actor who has enough sovereign control over territory. That's what you assume when you think about planning. And in the Indian context, first of all, it seems like we have never had that kind of a state. One sovereign institution which knows what to do, how to control things and so on. That's one big issue. But even if we had one such sovereign state which has enough control over territory, that kind of a state itself seems to be dissolving and disappearing across the world. Whether you look at the US or you look at Germany or you look at the UK or you look at any other places. There are different ways in which people describe this. I remember one very frustrated architect from Adelaide once describing this as governments outsourcing their intelligence. I mean, you can outsource everything, you can't outsource your intellect. That
if the government is lacking in a particular field, they outsource the work, but they cannot outsource responsibility. I would like to add that.
Right.
They
So that's
responsibility is just good for us, but not for you.
right. But the assumption there still is that there is an institution which can hold intelligence inside its own head and it is out there, right? And maybe it's not there. And I think one of the reasons why we're coming back to this question of informality, as we were setting up this conversation around dosing itself, is that what do we do in a world where the known networks, known institutions, known predictability is all seems to be dissolving. Right? We don't know what the hell is going on. Whether you look at Chennai, whether you look at Bangalore, whether you look at some other place. The question is, are we acting out of partial knowledge, which is a given. We are not gods, no planet can ever pretend to be knowing everything that is going to happen. Therefore, we have unintended consequences and we have to live with it. Is that what is going on? Or is it that there are many different actors with very clear interests? Sometimes they are colliding with each other, breaking down. Sometimes they are actually succeeding in pulling off something. Is that what is going on? We don't know. And that is a question that has very serious implications for how we ask questions, what would be the answers, what kinds of actions are even possible. Because if I cannot diagnose what is going on with the state, with the society and so on, I don't know where the collapse has happened from. Did the collapse of a flyover happen because there are networks of communities with very specific interests? They haven't been able to sort their own game together and it has fallen down. Or is it because we just don't know what is going on? Everybody is acting out of partial knowledge. The state itself, as an entity, is acting out of blindness. So we are pretty much blind and we don't know where it is going to all head. These two different diagnostics will have very different consequences for what we can do. How do we act? What should our politics all be about? How should we organize our own governance and all of that? And I think the one way to think about this is a very exciting moment to be doing, because we don't know what the hell is going on and we don't even know how to think. So the political possibilities are just tremendous. Politics apart, intellectual work itself has tremendous possibilities because it's like it's for you to put the pieces together. You can formulate your questions, you can formulate your answers, you can do it. It's all. And I think that's what is broadly being articulated in very different ways by Prasad and Maheep. So I just stop there and open up for questions and comments.
As some of the speakers has rightly pointed out, most of our cities have centuries and decades of transformation. Like this city itself has a history of around 400 plus years. So the planning part needs to go along with the urban redesign effort. Because we have something. So the planning has been happening. Every now and then we come up with some kind of master plans and they don't get translated into realistic formulations. They plan something and the reality would be different. If you can observe the satellite images over a period of time and comparison with the city plans, there would be a lot of difference. Maybe, I don't know, Shah has succinctly put the vision of this city in a very single two-line statement that he wanted this city to be a lake kind of a thing where it gives space and opportunity for every fish to live. That is a very poetic expression by Shah. Then our own last Nizam has put Vishweshwaraya, Mokshavanam Vishweshwaraya, he has been here for a decade or so. He had given his intellect and engineering acumen for around 8 to 10 lakhs of population, say a few decades back. With that kind of planning, now we have 12 times more people living with that infrastructure provisioning, that sanitation or say water. Now the reality is that the cities, Indian cities particularly have been, not only Indian, global cities are more of car-centric and auto-centric cities rather than people-centric. The design itself are very auto and rather car and transport-centric. So Indian cities have emulated that particular model. So now the livability has been given this thing. So if you see any city in India,
your air quality or your water quality or any noise levels, these are the parameters are not in a very healthy state of affairs. So even though you plan or whatever, the existing things need to be redesigned at least. So planning and redesigning to the reality. Redesigning meant if there are any possibilities to transform cities into livability cities along with the plan, because planning and I don't know how to put it, but the experience is not a very healthy, happy ending.
Thank you.
I think one of the questions that we constantly seem to be answering or dealing with is how do we deal with informality? My question also has been how do we deal with formality, and is formality itself a big problem? Because if you're saying that, like what Jairaj talked about, the community of interest, and we have dominant communities of interest which define the formality. And that formality gives rise to a whole range of problems. If you're talking about land use change and managing that through a planning process, and the land use change is obviously is driven by certain notions of value and wealth. So what are those notions of value and wealth? Have they been defined? Is there a consensus on that? That's one question. The second is what you mentioned about economic growth. Despite economic growth, the livability has gone up. My question would be, is it because of, the livability has gone down? My question is it because of economic growth that the livability has gone down? And has growth created exactly opposite of what we intended? And in this, it is not enough to look within the confines of the city, because a city can grow and become livable, but at the expense of the countryside or certain other distant places. So there are, like, pointing to, say, a western or a northern city, to say that here's a livable city, then hides the footprint of that city in places like the unlivable cities of the south.
We've been talking in terms of formal and informal, but if this whole process is essentially a curve, stakeholders who have formal stake, which is landowners, and then defining how the master plan benefits or doesn't. Where do people, still the majority is still not the landowning class of the city. Where do their interests kind of play around, which is where I'm assuming most of the people here kind of land themselves with, is where is that struggle in terms of that informal group which doesn't have a formal ownership in that land that is being defined by these master plans. There's no process that has added value in terms of planning in the last, I don't know how many umpteen decades. Do you guys see anything happening in that sense of recognition or an attempt to actually address these groups at all? So the more formal these are becoming, the more formally they are more and more geared towards the land ownership and not really about anything else.
I want to very quickly respond to that question, actually, in the interest of time. One of the things that I have learned over time is that all professional planners, majority of them, there are a few bad eggs, have been trying to do this thing of participation, getting people's views into the plan, so on and so forth. It doesn't seem to be working. And I think one of the things that we all need to pay attention to is that it's not working. Why is it not working? It's something that we don't quite know. Right? People have made efforts, and I know Maheep personally, I know Prasad personally, we're all people who've been doing that kind of stuff, and I just want to end with that without going into that into a very detailed discussion.
I just want to continue where he left is, I think somewhere the issue is also that are we ready to accept and make a statement that we have failed in planning? I think somewhere that acceptance would enable us to start thinking about it probably in a new way. Over the last few decades, as we were mentioning, this whole participatory approach of master planning or whatever, the way you want to involve people in the planning process has not worked. And that is why we are in this state of affairs, because at the end of it, the people who are getting affected or who want to manage their own lives, they have found their own ways of going around in the city, be it the rich or the poor. So poor have got onto the squatting on the lands or the streets and make it work. The rich have got their, siren running vehicles, they block the roads, they are able to go through, knowing pretty well that in a normal traffic a VIP cannot go on his own. So people have found their own way to go about the city, but the fact is that the people who are supposed to be actually planning are not ready to accept that we are failing in the way we are planning our cities. And it basically, in my opinion, is a top-down approach where predominantly is the CM of a state. Let's say if we talk about state as a unit, he doesn't want to accept that the way they have gone about the cities is not the correct way. The planning body in that sense is doing a job, but not necessarily doing it academically or scientifically the correct one, because the other implications have been unofficially been incorporated into it. So in that sense, it doesn't work. I mean, if you look at even the high-tech city area, knowing pretty well that 20, 30 years down the line, you were going to make it into such a scenario, why was your transport planning not taken into consideration at that stage and provide for that scope in next plan? Why is it today that the streets are as busy as the old Hyderabad is today? Because of you have somebody was mentioning in the morning that you have 4 and 5 layers of basements for parking, but you still find parking on the street because there is an issue which is economic. The subleasing companies don't want to pay for the parking inside the building, so you get a free parking on the street. Similarly, like we were mentioning about if we know that predominantly our society is of poor people, let's say if we take that as a benchmark, and we know that most of the business, employment, economic activity happens informally, and that is where your vote bank is also, but that is not being reflected in the planning process because the decision makers are those 5-10% of people who do not want to accept that we would like to accommodate that officially, because then it's a question of legitimacy to be given to the people who does not deserve to be there in your planning process.
One of the issues I was thinking about is, a lot of the discussion here has been about planning, and one of the things that Maheep said was about the whole issue of land and its expense and working with that. So is one of the reasons we have the situation that we have today because it's very difficult to actually bring land into urban use efficiently. This is the whole conversion story and the structure that works around it. And the relationship of that to the manner in which you can actually do things formally. So, for example, in many places, any of these unauthorized colony structures, etc., if somebody wanted to actually do it formally, the process for doing that is actually quite complicated and for a variety of reasons relatively restricted. So is there, how much thought and work works within the system? Because most of the planners that I see sort of tend to work with land as a gimmick. Whereas, work with FSI structure and so on. But to what extent do we push back and say what is urbanizable land and the manner in which that urbanizable land can be made urban? How simplification of that process, would that somehow change the way we approach this issue? And that's something that cropped up earlier talking about.
I think my point has been covered earlier. Another question, it's just that my framing was slightly different, is that are we witnessing like a conflict of multiple forms of knowledge? The so-called expert knowledge today is almost at odds with or against what might be called people's knowledge or organic knowledge. And almost, there is an entitlement that comes with the position. And to me that is symptomatic of something much larger.
I was actually thinking about what Anand said regarding what HUL was, and the purpose of where we are going back, and we are going back to data again, and trying to stress upon that. But I also see that in the overization of the world, which the problem is when we're talking about organic cities, we are not really clear. But the problem is, in the overized world, they have data for everything, and they are very clear, and they're going at rapid, fast, and and in the whole automated world, which they envision. I'm also inclined with the few folks who both in permaculture and how they design and how nature evolves, and they design spaces and villages, eco-villages and all these things. So, yeah. So I'm just wondering that if we are really not clear, I see that urbanization, these words are getting so fast that we don't really have a say. So that's where we need more voices in the organic process also, and at least state what some clarity where we are and go forward. So yeah.
I think very very quickly. I think there is a solid belief on the plan, and I'm repeating myself, but the plan is actually one of the things that happen in the city, and it is kind of a product of informal. It is as informal as the city itself. So I mean, to kind of expect a plan to address the problem of the city is to kind of say that the city is this docile element which will change with the plan when the plan wants to change it. The city is not a docile thing. The city is a very active, energetic entity. It is alive and it is living. So that is one thing. That expectation of the plan is like you're expecting too much from the plan. One. Second, we live our lives through formality and informality constantly. I mean, everything that we wear, we eat, we produce, we kind of do everything is moving through layers of informality and formality constantly. So, I mean, I have no specific problem with informality as such. And I think that the framing of it as formal and informal itself is something which is producing this kind of a difference. So, it's life which is kind of, seen from a morality and framework which is produced somewhere else. I'll just spend 1 minute in that. But see, historically, these cities are, for example, this name Thapar, Nampal. Where do these names come from? It's sediments that have happened, one over the other. You see the cities kind of settled one over the other and kind of reproduce itself. From where we draw our urban moralities is our cities in North America and Europe, which came up after cleaning and setting up a new grid after the war, after immense destruction. So you have a different logic for both cities, both kind of cities. You cannot impose a similar morality on this city, on these cities. These cities require to be evaluated with different moralities, with different kind of ways of doing things. And that I think will also kind of respond to what Partho is saying, that the question is probably not how do you make urbanizable land, how do you design a process of making urbanizable land urban, because they're already there. They're already there. It's a question of morality. With which morality are you evaluating these cities? Even the rates of pollution, even the rates of hygiene, even the rates of kind of standards, etc. These are highly debatable and questionable areas. I mean, these are defined. These are very context specific. There are no universal ideas about this. So I mean, cities are this kind of living, energetic lives. Plan is one thing that produces. Don't expect too much of it. They may nudge. They will keep nudging. And that is how the plan is set up. And there are players who nudge, who keep nudging. In greenfield, that's very different. When you have completely acquired New Delhi, for example, completely acquired land where you place a grid and then you kind of, New Bombay, Chandigarh, you have this. But even that city, that is also the first example I started with. In Informality, you have this kind of, clean slate, and then when the city kind of responds and comes back, when the city kind of when the city starts happening there, then you don't know what to do with it. You are kind of, it has its own logic, it takes over. This is a nice thing with the cities. This is a good thing. Cities are alive. They don't allow plans to kind of, make them.
I think this change of land use happens primarily because of economic reasons. So the value of land is what you also said is saying, and we agree. It's what the problem starts from. How you value it and what value you give it. Then the push and pull comes. So what system, how a procedure has been created to define or allow that to happen, it creates the urbanization itself creates powers in the people who control or plan for urban centers. And added to that is a process of change which is allowed as per law. If it is discriminatory in a particular way or not transparent, probably it has happened for decades and it has become a habit and a system in itself, the process of change of land use. So, livability directly is impacted by the rate of growth of urbanization and the type of urbanization. If we had channelized the economic growth of the country in the last 20 years in the new urban centers, then in the closed planning circles, Gurgaon, High-Tech City and any other IT parks which have come wonderfully, which says we have created so many jobs, are not the desirable urban living settlements which we would have wanted. It is admitted. It's not discussed. Because you are worried, can you question? So when the national discourse is on economic growth and not on the quality of the living it creates. So we need to create a discussion and question and change. Economic growth has happened. 5 lakh jobs in High-Tech City. So 1:5, it supports 25 lakh population. They earn their livelihood, they earn more, they spend more. But how they travel, where they go out for their cigarette or idli on the street, what happens to the vegetable vendor there, or everybody goes to supermarkets there, but still a Coca-Cola Raitu Bazaar exists and is thriving. People are responding to that. And the model of planning or subdivision, where if the government, the value of land, if you leave a 10-acre open space in High-Tech City, it's worth 20 crores per acre. That means government has to value that 200 crores of land need not be sold to a private developer. It should be reserved for that particular use. If we have that conviction, the value of that 200 crores will come back manifold. All planners know it. But when we don't reserve land for a particular use, it's not just for the informal sector market or an open space, a school or a cultural center with a large open space where people can have a congregation. That is missing from all these places across the country. The use of the land impacting on the values. People, slowly the movement is increasing. Slowly governments are responding to the people. Maybe because of RTI or public pressure or internet or pressure groups. And governments have started responding. Willingly or unwillingly, they say, let's talk to these people, otherwise they will create trouble. So, in the acts, there is no provision for public consultation. So it creates a great coverage for the people in the government to say it is not mandated by the act. The master plan is supposed to be notified to the public in a specific way for 45 to 60 days. So the public consultation happening in Mumbai or Bangalore or Hyderabad is because of that effort. What little bit is working from both. Somebody in the government is ready and the people are putting pressure. So it's opening up slowly. Failures are known, well known. It's a sad state that we feel, or most of the people in the government also know that we could have done much better. There is a conflict between the super specialities. It's not always a conflict, many times just a gap. Because I feel I am an expert in my subject, we just don't want to sit together and come up with an integrated plan. Already the master plan is questioned. And then you have super specializations. And then there is no connection between the transport plan and the land use plan and the environment plan. So it is a fact. I feel there is in the last few years this thing is going on and they all want to get back to the methodology of planning. Again, whether it will succeed or not, I don't know. It creates a gap. I would say conflict less, gaps more, and then it leads to other problems. I would maybe not comment on the field of medicine, but it's somewhat similar. You have super specialists for every subject. But all you wanted is a doctor who would just check the pulse and say something is wrong with your digestion and don't go for the X-ray or the MRI scan. If you eat well, go for a walk, create more open spaces, improve the sewage system of the city, things will probably start improving. Data is a game changer. It can change the game. But if you don't use it properly, again we end up with a new set of problems. But it can make a lot of difference. For example, who are the people coming in the city? What are they doing? Why did they come? Everything has to be understood. Otherwise, how will we respond? So there's one study we did for the necklace road around 8 or 10 years ago. Said that over a period of Friday, Saturday, Sunday, people come from as far as Warangal to do business for only 2 days a week. About 20 to 20,000 people footfall is there. They buy samosas or mungpalli and all that. But it creates livelihood for 1 week for that family. They go back to work. That's the level of impact urbanization can have for such spaces. But we need to know who these people are selling and who are buying and what is the impact. Just close there. Lots to talk. Can we have 1 more hour of discussion?